Welcome to an Email Geeks special report with your hosts, Christopher Marriott and Paul Schreiner.
Welcome back to Email Geeks Home Drinking Coffee. On our show today is our longtime friend Ryan Phelan, and honestly, we want to talk about the Service Mark Email Geeks. That's the plan today, and honestly, but it affects me. It affects a lot of people, right? And because we've just known Ryan as long as we have, I thought the best thing we could do for the industry was just let's talk about it. So anyway, Ryan, great to have you on the show. Christopher, how are you doing?
Good. I'd like to point out that a couple of things. One, this is a special report for Email Geeks at Home Drinking
We got
Coffee.
the scoop.
It's not our regularly scheduled episode, which has been bumped to next week. So, special report number one. Number two, it's Hat Day, and as you'll note, we are all wearing hats.
There we go.
I didn't want that to go unnoticed. And three, because of the timing of the filming of this episode,
Yeah, that's right.
our beverage choices have switched. Ryan, what are you, before we get into the controversy and shenanigans, what are you drinking?
I got a little Johnny Walker Red.
A bucket.
I don't have a bucket. Listen, we discussed this. This is a logistical thing because my house is still under construction and my fridge is in the garage. So it's kind of it's a hike.
That's what I tell my wife too, Ryan. Like that. No, it's logistics, baby. That's what I'm doing.
It's all logistics.
And Paul, what are you drinking?
Well, I'm drinking red wine. It's Aldi's cheapy red wine, but I did want to showcase my new cup. It looks like I'm drinking Folgers coffee, a cup I got in Idaho. So,
That's
good
nice.
stuff.
That's a big COVID thing, is to drink alcohol out of a coffee cup so that nobody knows.
Oh.
I have no idea what you're speaking of.
Yes, I've never heard this before.
And my glass is not frosted. Ryan thought it might be. It's actually Chicago Skyline.
Oh, nice.
And I'm drinking a Firefly Ridge Pinot Noir. So cheers, gentlemen.
There we go.
And
cheers.
And again, welcome everybody to the program.
Yeah. And let's
Paul,
jump
why
into
don't
it.
you set the table for people who maybe just be learning that there's a controversy raging through the email community.
Right.
Set the table.
So on Friday, maybe it's Thursday. I don't remember. Thursday afternoon. Night. Yeah.
Hey, what date? What date? July.
Thursday, July 13th, 15th, something like that.
July 15th.
Yeah.
Okay. So
and
just to set the record straight.
I see a tweet from my friend Ryan Phelan that says, "So excited! We got this service mark for Email Geeks. This is going to really fuel us for the future. How we're working together. Hey, Email Geeks, we're so excited, right?" And that really sparked, I think, a lot of concern in the industry because they just didn't know what it meant, right? And when you're talking about sort of email marketers, that some of them, I bet you that we're going to start seeing pictures of people who have tattooed the word email geek, somewhere on their person. Like this is a term people have really connected with, right?
Right.
And so, there's a lot of energy on the different communities, and I think some people answered, some people didn't. There was feelings, lots of feelings, and I thought let's address it. So let's talk about, let's start with what is a service mark. Go ahead, Chris.
No, Paul, let me even start there. I'm stunned we're even talking about this. And when Paul, you first brought it to my attention, in my mind, it was a big nothing. And I thought you were kidding that it had created a dust up, a kerfluffle, amount of controversy. And yet here we are. It did. And we're here. We're talking about it. So color me naive thinking that this is even a topic of dissent.
Yeah, but so there's two things I think going on. And I want you to talk to here, Ryan, because I like to suck up all the oxygen in the room. I think this is a term that people feel emotionally connected to, right? Mm-hmm. And I think there's always this feeling of like, the big business is swooping in and, taking my cool thing. And I think neither of those things are true. Like this is just a thing. And I'm glad we're connecting with it. And that doesn't have to change. So Anyway, can you give us a little background? I know you wrote a fantastic post on the RPE Origin website, or at least the Email Geek site, that
Blog.
kind of talks about this. So let's start by directing people to that. If you haven't yet read that, hit pause on your audio, hit pause on your YouTube, whatever. Go read that. Now, Ryan, fill us in on sort of the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, I think I'll get to the statement in a second. I think the history of Email Geeks is important, right?
Oh, yeah.
And in terms of where did this come from? Because it's a term, listen, we use and we all as a community love it. I think we're all geeks. We're all, how many email people know how to code? How many email people know how to get into SQL or to get into the back end of an ESP, right? It is a geeky thing. And John Caldwell, my business partner, years ago, was I think the first, at least according to the Twitter authorities, was the first to use it as a hashtag, right? And it really has defined us over the years. And we've had iterations of it. When John and I would go sailing, it would be an Email Geek sale. When we would be in Vegas at some of the conferences, it would be Email Geeks bar. It is something that has grown from that initial hashtag into something, right? And John, early on in his career, and we're talking back pre-2010, right? Bought Email Geeks and started with a job site to help people find a job, right?
In 2010.
Yes. I believe, let me refer to my notes. But in 2009, he actually that's when he did the tweet, and he bought the domain name to do jobs. He started the LinkedIn Email Geeks group, and we love it. We've always associated with jobs, not to transcend the use of it in popular use, but to say, hey, listen, this originally was to help people find a gig, right?
Right.
And go ahead, Paul.
No, and I think that's, I don't want to say altruistic, but it reflects who I know you and John to be.
Yeah.
Right. Like, a job site is, anybody I know who's doing a job site and email is not making money from a job site and email. It is, how do I serve the community? That's what that means.
Yeah, and that's I think the important thing to know about this history is not only has Email Geeks blossomed into use by everybody, and we love it, and we don't own it. John came up with it back in 2009, right?
Yep.
It is, we relaunched emailgeeks.com back last year and relaunched the entire platform to pull in jobs pertaining to email and digital marketing for people, because so many people lost their jobs last year, right? And we're a digital agency. We are not a monster.com or any of these others. We're an agency, but during last year in the pandemic, when we had some downtime, we thought, well, shoot, people are losing their jobs. Let's relaunch this. We redid all the feeds. We redid the look and feel. We put in a lot of work into it, and we ate the cost. We still continue to eat the cost. We've never, we've never wanted money from it. If we could get a couple bucks just to cover the hosting and all that, great. But this is not going to make us rich.
So why the service mark then?
The service mark is listen, John and I have been in this industry. I've been in it for 23 years. He's been in it for 25 years. And our reputations and what we believe is central to this community, right?
Right. I agree.
And what we wanted to do is protect the history of Email Geeks as being a job site, right? We went to the U.S. government and said, hey, we want to get a service mark. And I think we'll talk about the differences in a minute, but we wanted to get the service mark for Email Geeks to make sure that nobody else could spin up a site that sold T-shirts, or that somebody wanted to make a bunch of money off of what we deem as central and important to this industry, which is the love of this industry, the geekdom of this industry. We did it as a protection mechanism.
Right, and I think that's fair. And to translate that, kind of how I hear it, and so please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
that prevents me from spinning up email geeks dentistry, or sort of really taking advantage of that term, sort
Mhm.
of outside of what's considered safe. Because right now, like before there was a service mark, um, anyone could start any business with the term email geeks, whatever, right?
Right.
And now,
Even a podcast.
right? Like, say somebody started a podcast.
You know,
Right?
a podcast. Can you believe that?
So, but the idea was it sort of does draw a boundary around saying, the other thing I want to say, Chris or Ryan, I don't have origin is an email is a business. Audience Point is a business, and as much as I love the email marketing community, at the end of the day, I have to look my wife and my children in the eyes and say I did my very best to provide as much income as I could for our family. And I am not apologetic about that, right? And nor am I asking you to apologize for doing the same thing with your family and saying, we see this as a thing. We sort of invented the term. And as creatives, right? Like that's email industry is full of creatives. The idea that we would want to sort of honor the creative process and protect that for those that I mean, that's why this stuff exists. Like there's a reason I don't want people taking my code, my graphics, that kind of stuff, stealing them and blanketing the internet. And I think the whole community would agree on that. So I just infused my opinion. There you go.
No, I think it's a good opinion. I think, we've always, people use email geeks and hashtags to describe themselves, but we've seen email geeks as a job, as a community, as a thing, as an entity.
Right.
And we wanted to protect that entity, right? We don't, ownership doesn't really go far. We don't see it as we own it. We just see as we want to protect it as kind of the mother hens of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're in a position to do that, right? You can use a hashtag all day, but are you going to go out to the USPTO and go through all the work that we had to go through to get that done and the money to get that done?
Right.
I mean, this is a business decision to protect that investment and to protect that keyword so that it's used in the right way.
Okay, so tell us what a service mark is.
Yeah, a service mark. Yeah. A service mark is USPTO, U.S. Patent Trademark Office, right? The service mark is like a trademark. So a trademark is for goods and goods. A service mark is for services. So you have service marks, trademarks, and patents.
Okay.
Service mark just says we define email geeks as this, right? Under this use. Doesn't mean it can't be used anywhere else. It just says this is what it means, right? Okay. And so we got a service mark for it because that's what you do. You can't patent it because it's a word, right?
Okay.
And so we didn't patent it. All we did is add a service mark to it so that it could associate with the domain name that we have, emailgeeks.com. That's exactly what it is. Well, you have one? You have one for Email Connect.
Right. You're nuts. I mean, what they did was, this is mine for Email Connect. You can see how much I value it. I drink stain on it. It's a little sad. But
hopefully
I'm
it's
glad there's not
scanned somewhere.
On it, Chris.
That's
honestly,
a little sad. But that's what you do. There you go. Email Connect. If you're running a business, like they said, and that's your name, and you came up with it, why people, wonder to this day why Marketing Democracy became Email Connect. Well, because the person who owned Marketing Democracy sent me a cease and desist, said I was here first. And that's the way, that's the way of the world. And yeah, like you said, you have to protect yourself. So once, once bitten, twice shy, twice bitten, once shy, whatever. I was going to this time around make sure that I owned the mark and I can send the cease and desist if I have to.
Well, but I think you raise a good point, Chris, is that Marketing Democracy, somebody sent you a C&D, right? Okay, from outside of the industry, from outside of whatever.
She doesn't even really use it, right?
Doesn't even really use it.
I had it first.
Yep. But here's the thing.
So true.
Email Geeks is an email thing.
Yeah.
John Caldwell did the hashtag in 2009. We are of this community, and we are of this belief that it is a thing, right? And we don't want somebody like Chris's C&D to show up to anybody.
Right.
And this protects that.
That where it's not, you know, where it doesn't make sense.
Well, and so I think I want to transition over to a question, because I think one of the kind of questions I wrote. So because I think it blends really nicely into this. So what do you tell Ryan, an email marketer who has really connected with this term? Again, the person with the tattoo, maybe not a tattoo, maybe they've got stickers all over their laptop. You know, they've got, you know, they've got all kinds of stuff. They're making stickers on their own that say "Email Geeks." You know, buy my sticker for $2.95 or whatever the thing is, right? What do you tell them? Because this is, as much as it is about protecting community, it's also a little bit personal, and I'd love for you to sort of speak to that.
It is personal. It's personal for me. It's personal for John. It's personal for everybody in this community. There's a Slack channel created for Email Geeks, right?
Right.
And what do I tell them? Don't worry. This is not a big overlord or an evil guy in a Bond movie. I think I put that in the statement. We're not the evil Bond guy. What we are is not looking to change things. We're looking to protect emailgeeks.com.
Right. Okay.
And I think that, you know, we're not going to, if somebody was asking if we were going to charge for using the hashtag, or if we were going to shut down the Slack channel, or if we were, what was the other, somebody accused us of going to be a patent troll, right? So here's the thing. How popular am I going to be if I start sending C&Ds to people that use the hashtag, or I send a C&D to the guys, the gals, whoever owns and administrates the Slack channel? Come on, guys, let's think through this a little bit.
Right. Talk about the most hated man in the industry, right? Like,
right. I mean, I've been in this space for 23 years.
Right.
And my career has been built on building this industry up.
Well, and I mean, what isn't being, again, so folks, let's sum up the people who invented the term email geeks, who coined it, who first used it, who have created a website that is a community that serves the community to provide jobs, are not the bad guys here for trademarking that term. The bad guys would have been somebody else coming in at the same time they did and trademarking it because no one else had. And that person, not being in the industry, then could have come and done all the things folks out there have thought maybe Ryan and John would do. Now they've protected it from somebody who would have bad motives.
And I think you can speak to that firsthand, Chris, because you had, your business was named Marketing Democracy.
Yep.
And you had that taken from you legally. And you had to, I mean, I know you spent a lot of money with attorneys.
Spent a lot of money with lawyers trying to defend it, changing the name, and the amount of paperwork that undergoes a name change is daunting. Daunting, the number of places you do it. And it's common sense. It's not, the motives of this service mark should not be questioned. Again, good guys have protected a term we in the industry all use and embrace. And somebody, again, anybody could have stepped in if they hadn't. First won the service mark. I mean, if there's a fight, you look at who used it first. But if there was no challenge to someone else coming in and doing that, and Ryan and John weren't aware of that happening, again, everything that people accuse Ryan and John of potentially having planned could actually have come to fruition. So I, for one, am glad that it's in good hands.
Sure.
Thank you.
And I think that's fair. And so what about, where does this fit into your plans for Email Geeks in the future, Ryan? What does that mean for the community going forward?
It is, you know what? Email Geeks is going to continue to be a job site. We continue to work on it. We're trying to add more feeds. We're trying to get more partnerships for it. again, on our own dime, on our own off time to try and reach out and get this done. But realize RPE Origin is an agency, is one of the only vendor agnostic agencies in the space, and we have work to do on that side.
Oh yeah.
And so our days are not going to be consumed with C&Ds. It's not going to be consumed with it. The service mark really was just a cool thing that was like, look, the USPTO said Email Geeks is in the register. That's freaking cool.
Right.
And if I wanted to make a big thing of it, I wouldn't have just posted it as a tweet. I got the thing from John. I said, this is cool. And I put it out there. There wasn't a blog about it. There wasn't a hate. It was just like, this is cool. Look at this.
Right.
And I put at the end of the tweet, let the love continue. I don't know evil Bond villains that put let the love continue at the end of and I understand. I do understand. I think the one thing in reflecting on this is I should have thought through, is this going to be taken wrong? Are people going to read the image that's attached to the tweet? Should I have put a narrative behind it? And I get it, right? I love the term as much as everybody else, and I use it a lot. And that I apologize for is that, you know what? I didn't think through that enough to think that somebody may have taken it the wrong way. I guess I thought, in total transparency, that John and I's reputation and presence in this industry would give people a pause to go, oh, this is Ryan and John. This isn't like Bob, who we don't know. This is people that have been in this industry for 23 and 25 years.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, coming out publicly saying we own this, is a little bit different than stealthily hitting everybody in the same day with C&Ds that are using the term in any way, shape, or form. That would have been a little stealthier.
Yeah. Right. So, I think the takeaway I want our listeners, viewers to kind of have is,
and producer
this
David,
is still a
who's
thing.
been very upset by it.
Yeah, this is still a thing. You don't have to stress about your stickers or your tattoo. You don't have to, worry about your podcast that you listen to. And
beloved podcast.
Right, beloved podcast.
I mean, I may send a C&D to you guys just for the hell of it.
But
honestly, I would welcome it. I'd honestly frame it, Ryan.
Because you know what we do, and this was the advice I got after the fact when I got the C&D for Marketing Democracy. Somebody pulled me aside and said, you should have ignored it. They probably would have let it go. And if you send us one, we'll just tell you in advance, we're going to ignore it. It's going to cost you a lot of money.
There you go.
That's honestly our plan here with the podcast completely, is just to ignore it.
Just ignore it. Yeah.
So anyway, thank you for coming on. And
I want to add one more thing.
Yeah, please do.
I think what's important, I admitted what I learned from this, right? And I think that there are things that everybody else can learn. I was and again, in full transparency, I was disappointed a little bit in people that have been in this industry for a long time that didn't come to our support.
Right.
That didn't say, hey guys, this is Ryan and John. I'm sure there's something, right?
Yep.
And I think that we are in a time right now that is very reactionary.
Right.
I see a tweet, I see a post, and I gut reaction. It's all going to hell. Pick your topic.
Yeah.
Right. But I would hope that what this teaches the broader community is this: when you see something, look up who's saying it.
Right.
A 5-minute search on Google or a 5-minute search on LinkedIn would have shown my CV and John's CV. A 2-second search on YouTube or Google would have seen my prominence in the industry and John's contribution to the industry.
Right.
and you would have gleaned from that, hey, I don't think this is probably anything bad. I'm going to email him
Right.
and ask. And I want to give, and I'm not going to mention because I don't have her permission to mention her name, but there was somebody that reached out and did just that and said, hey, there's something going on. What did you, tell me the story. And that's what I would hope that we take away from this is not everything is a gut punch. Not everything is the evil empire. There are things that are done that do deserve a little bit of credit back to the person that did it to say, maybe they deserve the benefit of the doubt. And that's not just in email geeks and what happened today. That's everything.
That's
right?
life.
That's life.
Right.
And I would hope that people would take a moment and pause and go, what's the source of this? And should I be outraged, or should I just pay somebody the common courtesy of reaching out and saying, what's going on? I'm a friend of yours.
And to that end, Ryan, I know, just knowing you, having not asked this ahead of time, if someone wants to reach out and clarify something further, you're probably, I mean, I know it without asking. Yeah, call, email, text, whatever.
I'm one of the most accessible people in the industry.
Right.
And Twitter DMs, Slack DMs, my email address is on the website. I mean, it's not like we're hiding behind anything. And I have mentored people over the last 20 years ad nauseum that says, hey, I wrote an article about it on Marketing Land that said part of being a thought leader is taking the 30-minute phone call, is about sitting down with somebody and helping them understand things. That doesn't just extend to somebody that wants advice or wants direction. It extends to, hey, what are you guys doing with your business? How help me to understand this? And that's, I think, where the disappointment was, is that not enough people reached out and said, what's going on? And I applaud you guys. Paul, you reached out, and Chris, and said, hey, what's going on? How can we help? How can we, dispel this? I mean, I've spent 23 years of my life trying to build this industry up and make it incredibly strong. And my CV speaks for itself. Well, and so does John's.
And I can say, the number of times, Ryan, before we even knew each other, really, right? I reached out and I was like, hey, I'd love to chat it up a little bit. You're like, that sounds great. And I was like, I'm on the phone with the Ryan Phelan right now, right? I mean, and yeah, I know. Thanks. That's right, Chris. That's a good head nod. But the idea being, you are approachable, and as good as the day is long, how can I help you? What can I do? Everything I have is available. And so I guess, again, I just encourage anybody who still has questions remaining, reach out. And I would even bet you're probably more than happy to tackle any of those hard questions too, right?
I am. Like, don't pick apart this video, right? One of the challenges with doing videos is you'll pick apart one sentence, say, oh God, he's going to do. Reach out. I'll have a conversation with you. I'll talk to anybody that wants to talk about this, not because of anything other than I want this industry to be as strong as it can. And I want email marketers not to be distracted by this, but to put that focus into their program and to make their program stronger and their communication stronger and actually have a great career. That's my gig, right?
And I believe that to be 100% true.
And you know what? I think when all's said and done, we'll look back and say it was a good thing. Just like me personally, we're not for my C&D. I wouldn't have kick-ass hats like this today.
Right.
So you know what? You got to let things develop. This is a kick-ass hat. In fact, if you're out there and thinking RFP, you score one of these big ones if you hire us. But
that's right.
Just want to say again, hindsight's 2020, and we're all going to look back and say, I don't know what the fuss was about, because I know that this is not a bad thing.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, Ryan, I appreciate you coming on and being as transparent and as honest as you have been. I know that's not easy to do, but I also think that's part of your backswing, is just who you are. So again, thanks for making that available today.
Yeah.
And
really
thank you both. Thank you both. Appreciate the venue and appreciate the opportunity to talk.
Yeah. Awesome.